What's up, you guys? I'm Dan. This is Frugal Not Cheap. This is the first part of a two-part series about my condo hunting here in Bangkok. It was originally going to be just one video, but then I decided it was way too long and also I'm kind of pressed for time. So anyway, so it's going to be two-parter. First, I'm just going to talk about my experience touring apartments, the ones that I didn't end up living in, but it'll give you a good idea of kind of the apartment tour process. So that's going to be this video. And then in next week's video, which is part 2, I'm going to give you a tour of this unit that I actually moved into and also the amenities and everything. I think it's really cool. So here we go with part 1. Hey guys, so I talked about this a little bit in last week's video, but I actually began my search before I even came to the country. In fact, I've been looking at condos and kind of just window shopping for fun, thinking about, firing in Bangkok. I've been talking about this for a long time. Got a few videos about the topic. In any case, there are a lot of websites out there that you can use to do your condo search. When I was doing most of my window shopping back in the day, I was using RentHub. But actually, when I really kind of did my search in earnest, the platform that I ended up liking the most was DD Property. And the primary reason for this is that the search filters are really quite good. And then the secondary reason is that you can also find what they call verified agents, which makes me feel a little bit more comfortable about reaching out to them and then having me tour some units. There are some potential issues that I've seen either on Reddit or from other YouTubers. I don't really know how common these things are, but there is kind of like the thing where you think that you're actually working with a legitimate representative, the owner of an apartment or a condo, but it turns out that actually they have nothing to do with them, and so it was all a scam. I don't think that this is super prevalent, but definitely something to watch out for. In fact, I have a friend who rented, this is more of a short-term stay, but it turned out that that was a complete scam as well, and so he's working to get his money back from that. This was down I'm not sure, somewhere by the beach or something like that. Anyway, so these kinds of things can happen anywhere in the world, so best to have your wits about you and to make sure that everything is on the up and up. Oh, and I noticed I used the words both apartment and condo, and so I did want to kind of explain something here in the Bangkok sort of rental market. When we're looking at apartment size units or flats, basically the apartments are going to be the ones that are run by a company. And so, it's everything's like super standardized, and you just go to the front desk and you can, check out the different units and rent from them, and it's all going to be kind of one package. And some of these can even include service departments like my father has, where they do linen service, towels, they do twice weekly cleaning. They can also embed some laundry into the deal. And I think there's also a certain amount of electricity that's included as well. And then also maybe internet? I'm not sure about that one. Anyway, all these things are kind of negotiable, but point being, when you work with an apartment, you're really dealing just with one particular entity. Whereas in the condo market, what you're doing is you're renting directly from a landlord that owns just that one unit in the building, and then that landlord is using your rent to pay kind of like an HOA fee, some common fees that then run all of the amenities and cleaning and all that stuff for the building. So it's kind of a different story, and so it's a lot more cookie cutter with the apartment thing, although I've found that prices tend to be a bit higher as well. And then on the condo side, depending on how you negotiate and how things work out, it can be cheaper, I think. But then, of course, it does mean having to deal with individual landlords. Okay, so that all said, what I was doing is condo hunting, and I was using DD Property. And for a long time, I've been looking at one particular building, which is XT Ekkamai. It's relatively affordable. You can find units for between 20 to 25,000 baht or so. And then, of course, any of these list prices, you can always try to negotiate maybe even 10% below the list price as well, or you could try to get other things included rather than working on the rent price. There's other variables to look at as well. Anyway, so for some reason I really had my heart set on the Ekkamai area right next to Thong Lo, which is also a really well-known area. And so I had this one agent who did basically everything that I asked her to do. I said, hey, I want to look at some buildings on Ekkamai Road, which is Soi 63, and in particular I'm interested in Rhythm Ekkamai Estate, I was also considering Rhythm Ekkamai because it's much more convenient to the BTS. But the problem with the Rhythm Ekkamai units is that they call them one bedrooms, but really it's all in one line. So you've got like the kitchen and living here, and then you've got the bedroom here, but the only thing dividing them is sliding glass doors. Maybe you could do a curtain, but if you close that, then the natural light would no longer reach your living and kitchen. So I think of it as really just like a larger studio with a divider. So I don't really consider that to be a one bedroom. It's kind of like Anyway, not my jam. So that's why Rhythm Ekkamai was out. But Rhythm Ekkamai Estate, more expensive building, that really looked really, really cool. There's some great videos out there that can show you more about it, but I'll kind of talk about my experience. And then XT Ekkamai, kind of a lower market segment, but also still quite nice. I toured Ekkamai Estate first and then XT Ekkamai, which probably colored my view of XT Ekkamai, but anyway, so what I'll do is I'll talk about XT first. So this one's a little bit further back from the BTS. It's about 1.6 kilometers or so. There is a shuttle bus that leaves on scheduled hours to go to the BTS, but there's really no scheduled pickup. So if someone's there, happens to be there, you could call, find out, and then they might be able to pick you up and bring you back. But generally it's kind of like, in terms of a convenient way to go, it's a one-way thing. But the thing that I really didn't realize about Ekkamai Road is that in the afternoon rush hour, which is a long time, like the traffic can last quite a while, it's very, very slow moving down that road. And so then I'm thinking, if I take the shuttle, it's going to take a really, really long time to get to the BTS, right? So that was kind of a downer. But looking at the building itself, I think it does present in person just as well as it does in the photos. It's a very slim building, but it's really beautiful. There's a nice little water feature and some grass, I think. I don't know. Anyway, there's a nice stuff outside. Then there's a 7-Eleven, which is really, really convenient to have that right there. You've also got your towel bin, sort of coffee machine, so you can get stuff. And then inside, it's all, I think it was face recognition. That seems to be pretty standard here, is how we were getting around. The agent, of course, had gotten set up with the juristic office, so she had a day pass basically to show me around. So beautiful common areas with really, really tall ceilings on the ground floor. And they've got a nice small mail room and this little robot that can deliver drinks and packages and stuff, which is kind of cool. There is a way to get up to this little garden area. I can't remember if we had to go up some stairs or what have you. I think it was kind of a journey. But anyway, there's a little bit of a rooftop garden area. And then there's also a 50-meter lap pool. It is facing north, not south, so it's a little bit cooler. But that would be good if you're really out there trying to do a lot of exercise, I suppose. And then it does have nice lounge chairs. And then there's also a couple of like jacuzzi type areas on the eastern side with a really wonderful, wonderful view out there. The only thing is that the jacuzzi itself wasn't operational at that time. It was pretty dirty looking. So hopefully they're going to clean that at some point. But the gym was also pretty nice and functional, great views from there as well. And then you had a full-size pool table, which was cool. So really, I would say that the common areas were really, really nice. And I did see a good few people kind of hanging around, so they were getting some use. And so, it could be a little bit more sociable if you're into that. Now, when we look at the actual units, these are relatively small. I'll put up exactly how big they are up here. But, you have everything that you need, but it is pretty cramped, at least in terms of the distance from the door to the window, say, for the balcony, isn't all that big. So the living area is kind of small, and then as you come in, there's just kind of your kitchen here, some stuff on the left and the right. You do have a separate bedroom, which is nice. It's not that sort of one bedroom. However, one downside, or one thing that wasn't really for me, is that access to the bathroom is through the bedroom. And so that's not a big deal if it's always just you, but if you ever have people over, it's kind of nice that they don't have to go through your bedroom in order to get to the bathroom, that's all. And then the other note that I would make is I love the playful colors that they have in XT. However, just sort of the quality of the fixtures and all the stuff within the unit itself, I think is definitely not at the same market segment as what I saw at Ekkamai Estate. which I toured earlier, but we're going to talk about that next. So Ekkamai Estate is closer to the BTS. It's about 1.2 kilometers, I think, from the BTS, which is kind of a doable walk, but it's just not something that you want to be doing all the time. Like every time you want to pop out to a store, it's not the kind of walk that you want to do. If there's a lot of traffic, you could take a motorbike taxi. These are very affordable. However, they are risky. I've seen a lot of motorbike accidents, and so that's just not something that I'm willing to do on a consistent basis. I haven't done it once yet since I moved here, and I don't plan to, actually. They do have a shuttle. This is an on-demand shuttle that could come pick you up and take you. But again, I was really keen on the shuttle idea, but then I found out how bad the traffic is on that road. And so then, that really kind of put a damper on that whole plan. Now, Ekkamai Estate is ridiculously beautiful. The grounds outside are really nice. The whole, 6 or 7 story lobby area is beautiful. They've done an incredible job with the materials, with the designs, with the colors. Whoever did the interior design for this place, top notch. Really, really love it. It is developed by AP Thai. And then XT Ekkamai was developed by Sunsiri. They're both very well-known developers here in Thailand. It's also nice that there's kind of a big courtyard with a huge tree, and so by the time you get up to the lobby area, and of course there's an area for cars to pull up and then kind of circle around, so you can get picked up there without having to walk far out to the street. In any case, it's set back enough that it does feel a lot quieter. It is a very nice lobby. Again, the mail room is like one of the coolest mail rooms I've ever seen. And all of the amenities were really phenomenal. I was really, really impressed. The pool table is a mini pool table, so if you've seen photos of this thing, be aware that this is a smaller pool table. It's not a full size, but it could still be fun to play around with. But you also have a movie theater room, a projection room, so you can rent that out, play movies. I'm not sure if you're allowed to just use it when no one else is using it, but anyway. And then there's all kinds of co-working spaces and like small rooms to rent. There's tons of really cool spaces as you go up the building, including, I think on the 9th floor, there's a little like a water garden with this little like tea room, very pleasant, lots of greenery. It's really nice. And then moving higher up, you've got basically the like the onsen. So there's men's and women's side, of course, they're separate, but you have an onsen with 2 different tubs of different temperatures with amazing views. And then I think there was a sauna as well in there, along with, of course, lockers and changing and all that kind of stuff, and a restroom. The one future downside that I have to mention here, though, is that to the south end of the building, so that's towards the BTS, and also towards some beautiful views, including some partial views of the Chao Phraya River, they are building a 40-story high-rise right there. And so that's going to block, unfortunately, I think, depending on the shape of it, but it has a high chance, perhaps, of blocking a lot of the views looking south, and that includes the onsen that is looking south as well. So that's a real bummer. But if you go all the way up to the top, not quite the tippy top of the building, but very close, then you have a 360-degree pool. Which is incredible, really, really beautiful. There are also these sort of day beds with pillows and stuff scattered around, so you could just lounge, get some sun, catch some views. And because it is 360 degrees, even if that south side gets blocked or kind of, then you're still going to be able to have good views west, east, and north. Although I do worry a little bit about how much it might block the sun as well. Oh, and one really cool thing is this sort of very Instagrammable area. There's kind of a walkway underneath a section of the pool, so you can see the pool overhead. There's a bunch of mirrors. I don't know, it's really, really cool looking, very Instagrammable. As well as that, there's another thing that also they have at Rhythm Ekkamai, which is basically one of those glass bottom floor observation decks or areas, so you can look straight down from the 37th floor or 39th floor. I can't remember exactly what it was, but very, very cool. Then we also have a very nice gym. I thought the equipment was really solid and it was really kept in good shape. So those are all the amenities that I can recall at Rhythm Ekkamai Estate. And I would say it's a really, really beautiful building. The only downsides for me were, again, the distance from the BTS station, and then also the traffic if you're taking the shuttle, although it is pretty cool that it's on demand. And then the other downside was that they are building that 40-story high-rise to the south side of the building, which could spoil a little bit of the views and might block some sun to the pool. Hopefully not, but I didn't really want to take my chances. Okay, so how about the actual units within Rhythm Ekkamai Estate? Well, I would say that they were very well appointed. The size is a little bit bigger than XT Ekkamai. These came in at 35 square meters. You've got a separate kitchen. You've got also the separate bedroom as well, of course. You've got a little balcony and some storage off the balcony as well. And as with the rest of the building, I would just say that there's really good materials, really good design throughout, and also quite a nice shower as well. So I would say I was very, very happy with the rooms and then also with the amenities. But again, I had those two worries. Oh, and I did tour about, I don't know, at least 3, if not 4 different units in each of the buildings. So they had different views, they were on different floors and different furnishings. My 2 favorite units at Rhythm Ekkamai Estate were the south-facing ones, so unfortunately those would have been blocked again by the view of the construction next door, and also could be impacted by potential construction noise as well, although sound insulation is good in the building. So that was my apartment touring on Ekkamai Road. And then the next day, a different agent showed me around a few units in a different building. And this agent, interesting, basically just ignored everything that I said about Ekkamai and was like, hey, how about this building? And then she said, oh, you were looking at Ekkamai Estate, right? And then I said, well, no, this building looks interesting too. Let's check it out. And you'll see that tomorrow because it's a bit late and people are back from work. So I don't really want to be going around filming. So we're going to do that